Well, that's a case. Well, I wanted the doctor the cases for one of them. Yeah. I got that. That wasn't well, no, I'm just telling you, I'm the guy for some reason people want something. They don't want their name. I got it. I said it before. I mean, Bobby looked at it. So, yeah, it's kind of interesting in case. Okay. Okay. I thought you said about 16. Yeah, just curiosity. Okay, all right.
I think it's 12 days. It should be 12 days. Yeah.
If it's not op-ed, it's in the newspaper. You know, the problem is, but no, I'm going to publish the facts. You know, I missed that. I think that group will probably follow the yeah. RFP.
It seems like we always have something going on all day.
Because your contract. So it's in that thing. But I'm just writing a straight news story about the contract, and I wanted to have it correct because it I commend people who get together and get something done. It's unfortunate that they have this Trump mentality of following the sheepfold of the man cliff. I mean, we think it's terrible. So we all know that story. Somebody said, no, we don't back up that road. So they did.
I'd like to call this Caddo Parish Commission work session to order. It's 3:34 on April 4th. Can we have a roll call, please, Mr. Clerk?
Absolutely. Commissioner Hopkins. Commissioner Hopkins is here. Commissioner Johnson?
Here.
Commissioner Jackson?
He's here, sir, right there.
Commissioner Young?
Here.
Commissioner Burrell?
Here.
Commissioner Jones? Commissioner Gage Watts? Commissioner Teleferro?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Atkins?
Here.
Commissioner Chavez?
Here, sir.
Commissioner Lazarus?
Here.
And Commissioner Epperson?
Present.
All right, we have 10 of 12 members present. That does constitute a quorum.
All right, I'd like to ask Commissioner Hopkins if he could please lead us in the invocation, and Commissioner Burrell, would you mind leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Okay.
All stand, please.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day you've given us. Be with each and every one of us as we work to do the business of the parish. Bless those that are in your need. Touch them, bring their health to them, give them peace. This I pray in your Son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Turn to the flag, please. Give a proper salute of military, first responders, and civilian hand over heart. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Hopkins. Thank you, Commissioner Burrell. Mr. Clerk, do we have any agenda additions?
I'm not aware of any agenda additions today.
Okay, thank you. That brings us to citizens' comments. But before we get to citizens' comments, I'd like to ask for a motion to suspend the rules to adjust the order. Thank you. We're adjusting the order to allow Mr. Cedric Floyd to speak before our visitors because he has a meeting at the school board here shortly. So we have a motion by Commissioner Burrell, a second by Commissioner Epperson. Any comments on that? All right, let's vote, please, Mr. Clerk.
All right. And that motion passes with 9 in support, none in opposition, and 3 absent.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your assistance on that matter. And I guess we will ask Mr. Floyd, Mr. Cedric Floyd, the president of Data Center LLC, to come up and visit with us about his research into our redistricting efforts at the commission. Thank you, Mr. Floyd, for being here today.
Thank you. Dr. Wilson, members of the commission, thanks again for allowing Data Center to perform redistricting services for the 2020 census. Everything is going according to schedule or plan. State law and your charter have it as a deadline of December 31st. We should be finished, completed this process by August. Okay, so we've done the benchmark plan by applying the 2020 census to your current districts. We've had work sessions with the members, and within the next 35 days, we'll be submitting a model plan. And from there, it's always an intensity after the model plan. Get with each one of you individually or in groups, and go from there. So same process is going on with the school board. Their plan, the model plan, was submitted March the 11th, and I'm going over to have a workshop with them.
Okay. And I'm sorry, Mr. Floyd, did you say when you expect to submit?
Within the next 30 days.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Floyd? Commissioner Chavez?
Thank you, Chairman. Thanks for coming down. I know I was one of the first meetings, if not the first meeting. So before the final presentation that you come up with, are we going to have like a progress sent out to us, or are we going to have like a meeting before the formal presentation?
We can. Okay, yeah, we can. Well, it's going to be an ongoing process in terms of a model plan after taking input to give you my best design for a plan to be reflective of the parish and reflective of the commission.
Okay, that's one thing I'd like to see, Chairman, if we can put together just before the formal presentation, just maybe a progress report or where we're at, where we stand.
As I understand it, that's what Mr. Floyd has in mind. Within the next 30 days or so, he will send us basically a draft to review and comment on and work with him to improve over time. Is that right, Mr.
Correct.
Floyd?
Okay, I'm good then. Thank you, President.
Okay. Commissioner Vice President Burrell.
Thank you. We appreciate you being here. The plans that you will deliver in the next 30 days would be just a generic plan or a plan that we've suggested based upon that one meeting that we had, because we only had one meeting. I know I only had one meeting with you. Have you had more than one meeting?
I have not had any other meetings. I've looked at the demographics, but if in fact that any commissioner wants another meeting, I'd be more than happy to do that between now and submitting a plan.
But the only meeting that I'm referring to is the one that we met back here.
Yes.
The only one that we've had, that one basically that looked at the overall data. I think some people had some suggestions at that time. I think I told you that I wanted to see your basic information because I've kind of gone through it 3 times before. And I still have not been able to get with you to get that information.
I'm always around, so I'll make an effort, with your clerk, to set up a meeting and this week. In fact, and review the maps and the data. I'm more than happy to. And any other commissioner who wants to meet, I'll make sure I'm available. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Burrell. Any other questions for Mr. Floyd? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Floyd. We look forward to continuing to work with you, and thank you for always making yourself accessible to the Caddo Parish Commission.
Good. And like I say, we'll set up a meeting with how many times, and whoever wants to meet, more than happy to. All right, prior to model plan being submitted. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, I'd like to accept a motion to go back into regular session.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Burrell, a second by Commissioner Chavez to move back into regular session. Everybody please vote.
And that motion carries with 10 in support, none in opposition, and 2 absent. That brings us back to the regular agenda where we are on the item number 5, citizens' comments. Citizens who would like to address the commission on any issue other than zoning are asked to fill out a comment card located in the chamber foyer and return to either the president or myself in this box here if you would like. And we have, I know, received about 3. Comments are limited to 3 minutes, and I don't know if you've received any additional ones, but
I have those 3, I believe. Anything else there, Mr. Clerk?
I'm sorry.
Is it just these 3?
Just those 3 is all we have.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, it looks like the first on our list is Mr. Baylor and Ms. West. I don't know if Ms. West is here as well. Thank you, Mr. Baylor. Thank you, Ms. West, for coming in today.
Thank you, President Atkins, Dr. Wilson, members of the commission. Thank you all for entertaining us today in the Marshall Street Underpass project. Today we're just coming to check update status on the NGO application and answer any questions that may be present.
Well, we can't answer questions during this session. You're free to speak to us, but we can't ask questions back to you.
Gotcha.
So, anything else y'all would like to add?
Is there anything?
Well, we'd just like to thank you for the consideration of the project and let you know that things are going well. We're planning to kick off here in just a couple weeks, so any support that we can get from the commission will be most appreciated.
Okay, and I think that's on the agenda today for discussion.
Good deal.
So
Thank you all.
Well, we can't ask questions, can we? We can't ask questions. I don't know. I don't know. All right, Miss Madewell. Welcome back, Miss Madewell.
Thank you. I had spoke with you all before concerning a road closure that we had. I'd like to say just thank you for letting me come back in and say this. I own MVD Motorsports, and we film a television production that we sell to the networks, Discovery Channel. That being said, we were issued those road closures, and I think there was some complaints about noise, and we addressed those issues. We actually had the Greenwood mayor, the fire department, and those neighbors and some of the other local governing bodies agree that they would sign off if we would address that issue and move our timeline, and they would not have a problem with that if the parish would go ahead and approve that road closure. And we've done that. We have received a road closure and permits from other parishes, so our production is still happening. We are just, I guess my point is, GM is a very good place for us to be. We like the location and how it's laid out and the way that it looks on film. And we would like to pursue that. If that is something that is not an option, we do have another option. In fact, we filmed this weekend in another parish, and we have another parish that has also issued us the permits in the road. The state of Louisiana is looking at a permit now to shut down a state road for us to also film on right outside of Caddo Parish. So if it's not an option, I understand to some degree, but I did want everyone to know that we had addressed any issues that might have came up on a noise ordinance situation, and we were willing to change any of the guidelines that needed to be met in order to make sure that that would happen. If not, I understand that it is what it is, but at the same time, we're willing and have always been willing to do what it took to make that happen. And we are going to film here in this location, maybe not this street or this parish or whatever, but whatever it is that we needed to do, if we done anything on behalf of my company and the companies that I work for, we wanted to make sure and make those issues right. And I feel like after the fact of knowing that there may have been some noise complaints, I wanted to address all of you all and let you know that I personally got involved in that, and I have addressed those issues and those complaints, and made sure that we made it right whether we ever use this location or not again. It is not in our best interest to burn a bridge that gets to a road that we may need to get to again. I can't swim anyway, so I wanted to make sure to not burn that bridge if there were complaints, so we went and fixed that, and I wanted to make sure that you all knew that. If there were any issues that we wanted to make sure and rectify that, and I feel like as a company we have done that, so I hope that sits well with you all. If there was ever an issue with any of the commissioners where they received complaints and was unhappy with that, I feel like that I've gone out and tried to fix that situation and make it right. So if we've caused an issue or a nuisance, apologies on our behalf, but I feel like that I have fixed that as a company. So that's really all I needed to say.
Thank you, Ms. Madewell. We
thank you.
appreciate you filling us in, and as you know, we can't have dialogue in this session.
I understand
If
that,
you've
but
got issues-
I wanted you all to understand from my point of view as a business owner and a company that I deal with, that we do not come in to cause an issue. In fact, we usually help solve one of the issues at hand, and it's usually illegal street racing. We had 76 cars that did not illegal street race on any street this Saturday night in this area because they were with me and they were safe. We had fire trucks, EMTs, police officers, all the safety guidelines, and there were no police officers getting called out to address those people because they weren't doing it, because we took them off the street to do that.
Thank you.
And any nuisance that we may have caused due to noise or anything like that, I wanted to make sure that if there were people that were upset being in the community we were in, that I personally took care of that and fixed that and made it right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming down. Ms. Curtis.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
do they have full names?
Ms. Donna Curtis.
Oh, I'm talking about all of them. I know you just addressed their last name.
Yeah.
Would you give their full name if they have them, please, on their cards?
Yes. Hello, Ms. Donna Curtis.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm here this afternoon to speak to you about the Cherokee Park Bayou and the things that we have done to attempt to remedy the situation of trash and litter in that bayou. In the fall, we held 2 big cleanups, both paid professionals to do it. The first time, we collected 1.8 tons of trash. And that was from the bayou, not even the entire bayou, from where the park and the school, all the way around to Grimmett Drive, were the places that is the area we cleaned. I've attached to the information you may have some of the pictures that were done. We've discovered, after looking at it closely and really examining the sewerage, tracking it from the neighborhood. And actually, a lot of the litter, a lot of the small litter that is so difficult to pick up, is coming off of the streets of the neighborhood. There are 27 drains that lead from the street drains, and empty into the bayou. So that's waterborne litter that's coming from, like, people throwing trash down, people, as they walk down the street, maybe a candy bar, maybe an icy cup, from when the garbage trucks come by and pick up the garbage.
One moment, I don't mean to cut you off. Mr. President, can we put her under administration report so that we could have some dialogue as opposed to 3-minute comment? Do you mind putting, if y'all don't mind?
Do we need to vote on that, or is that?
We can't
Just added, maybe Dr. Wilson
Yes,
can
sir,
have
you
a under administration report, if you don't mind.
Okay, so
I
we'll.
If you got a
understand.
moment.
So she'll finish here and then,
I'm okay
Yeah,
with it.
I'm just saying, if you want to finish here, I didn't mean to stop you, but I just wanted to, before you got too far along, because we can't respond to you here, but we can if Dr. Wilson will put you on the administration report.
Yes, ma'am, I'll bring it back up, Ms. Curtis.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So
I just
it's
want-
in here.
I'm sorry,
And
I'm sorry.
That's okay, that's okay. You know what I'm dealing with, Stephen, because you and I have talked about this quite a bit. There are 27 drains that lead there. It comes, if a garbage truck comes down, and some of it falls out of the back of the, of the tray in the back of the garbage truck, it's really bad. So that's where a lot of it's coming from, washes right down into the bayou with nothing to stop it. And that bayou will eventually, a lot of it will work its way into the river. The first time we got 1.8 tons, the second time we got 480, and that was like 2 months later, 2.5 months later. I've decided most of the heavy litter, like the tires, the building supplies, all the big trash, construction materials, bicycles, buggies, is all being thrown over, probably from the two bridges that go over it, or it's coming out of the park where people are sneaking into the park at night and disposing of it that way, or even some people maybe throwing it from their backyards into the river. But it's, as you can see, we collected here, I have on here how many tires we collected, which was just, 37 tires in the first cleanup. So that's ridiculous. We've collected as much as 74 in years past. But anyway, it remains a problem. The cleanups are expensive if we have professionals do it. The professionals, it's $3,500 to $4,000 a cleanup. Some thought has been given, and I have consulted with some storm drain people who can, and I know in Baton Rouge they've done it, they've installed these large, they call them bandits, but they're really litter catchment. And they can run from $16,000 to $28,000 a piece. For that small of an area, of a width, I'm thinking maybe 16 to 20,000 would probably be in our range for Cherokee Park. They have to be maintained, but they do control the litter, and it doesn't sweep all the way down. It doesn't congregate at one particular place. I've just included pictures for you to show we did it, and it was done. And what the depth of the problem? It's a huge problem. And since there are no questions.
I'll bring it back up on administrative
Okay.
report, Ms. Donovan.
Yeah, I just didn't want her to
Commissioners can
leave.
ask questions at that time.
thank you, Ms. Curtis.
The commission will ask a question under my report, so if you will have a seat, I'll bring it back up.
Yeah, I just didn't want her to leave after she finished talking.
Okay, Mr. Clerk.
All right, that brings us to reports, where the first item we have is the administrator report. You should have received a copy, and there is a copy attached of the administrator's report.
1 second, Commissioner Upson, you're on the board. Was that from the previous comment?
Yes, sir, you can take it off.
Okay. Dr. Wilson?
Yes, sir.
I know he was, Dr. Wilson was up and answering a commissioner's question when we announced it, but we are at the administrator's report now.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Glad to see everybody today. We have several things we'll try to get to very quickly, and I think with that in mind, I'd like to bring Ms. Donna Curtis back up to answer the questions and that you all may have of her work. But while she's coming, she has done a yeoman's job taking care of a very problematic area for the residents of that area. It's kind of an enigma here because part of it goes into Bossier Parish, parts in the city of Shreveport, and of course, city of Shreveport's in Caddo Parish. And we've been trying for a long time to try to remedy the situation, and Ms. Curtis has done a very good job in helping us do that at a very cost-effective approach. So job well done, Ms. Curtis. I do appreciate it, ma'am. And your work speaks for itself. As I said in the meeting the other day, your help of us is for us is a multiplier in our workforce, and we do appreciate that.
Thank you. One other thing that we have been addressing is the litter that comes off of the streets. We have put out door hangers, we've done information cards out to people in the neighborhood trying to show them the proper way to dispose of trash and to contain your trash. And it's all about being a good neighbor and keeping your streets clean. We could cut down on a lot of the incidental litter that is so difficult to remove when you have aluminum cans or paper or candy wrappers, to pick each one up individually. We've even developed, over the last year, we've developed scoop nets. And we've got these special nets that you hang on the back of the boat now that crawfish bags, and we put it in there so we can carry them. It's a big deal. So if you have any questions.
Yes, ma'am, there's a few.
I can
There's a
address
few,
them.
Mr. Curtis.
Commissioner Jackson?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Thank you all for coming out. I know we kind of kicked this around, and in Louisiana, the weather, and so if it's too hot, then it's too cold, and then snakes and other critters that we have to worry about. So it took us a little while to get to this point. Did we ever, well, let me say thank you. I don't know if I was very clear on saying thank you, because it shows how beautiful this. Is this a river, or is this a lake, or is this a pond?
It's a bayou.
It's a bayou.
It's
So
a little
it
bayou
shows
that
how
doesn't move,
shows
as you
how
can see.
beautiful this bayou is
Right.
when it's cleared
Sort
out.
of an oxbow lake, like.
Okay. Is this brushy? That's not brushy bayou. Is it black
No,
bayou?
but they call it a bayou, but
Okay.
it's very similar to
Okay.
it.
But it shows how beautiful it can be once it's cleaned out, and to see this much debris, I didn't realize that many drainages flow into. And when you say drainages, are those residential drainages or just public, just drainages where
There's
stuff is
the
running on?
drainage, there's the sewer drains in the
Sewer
street. There are 27 of them in the whole neighborhood.
Okay.
And one of the places that is the most littered that we checked when we were doing our initial review was right there on Grimmett. It's the third entrance into the back, I call it the
Okay.
back entrance into
Right.
Cherokee Park back there. It is extremely littered. We've sent special teams out there to clean it in the past, but it was particularly heartbreaking. I was out there one afternoon, 4:30 to 5, and I saw everybody coming home from work and having to go by there, that one lot right there that is so littered. And I know after a big rain, everything washes into the bayou, and that's when it gets bad. It just, to see these people, that's what they face when they come home from work.
Is that and I don't mean to get too specific, is that the third, is that going north or south?
It is closest, I think it's west.
Okay.
It's off of Grimmett that
Off
runs
Grimmett.
around the back.
If you
Here's
head-
Algonquin.
Are you headed into downtown, or you headed back toward North Caddo?
You're going north.
Okay. Okay.
And that's the back entrance back there to
Okay.
Cherokee Park.
Well, I think these are great, and I'd like to see how we can, I know we had the discussion about the catchments, engage in some discussion about the catchments at some point.
That would be, it'd be such a lesson just to see. These pictures tell part of the story. And it's very difficult to get in. That's why it's so expensive to hire somebody to do it. They have to rent canoes if they can't find enough canoes. They had 8 people, that crew, there were 8 people out there, and it took them 3 days to do it. That small section, it's not even a mile. But it's all the overhang. If you notice, once they start moving around, the algae disappears. Once the algae starts moving. And if you notice up by, right off of North Market and Grimmett, where Frank's Corporate has a large area that is not, they've got the fountains in there
Waterfall,
that keep
water
the water
feature.
moving, because it's a stagnant. It moves so slowly, that's when the algae covers it. So that's when it looks fine. So once our cleaners were in there and were moving around for 3 or 4 days, the algae sort of disappeared because
Okay.
there's movement. It needs to be still.
I definitely want to make sure that we continue to engage, particularly with the city of Shreveport, because I know that they said that they would cut back some of that vegetation. I don't know that they ever cut that vegetation back,
Yeah.
but
The problem is some of that's on private
I
property.
got you. Okay.
And
Well,
so we run into a bit of a problem what we can do. They did clear their way into the Bayou Forest.
Okay.
That was very fortunate right there on Thomas Street.
Right.
There was a big area there. We've even visited some of the businesses along there that don't take the best
pride.
care of some of their outside dump receptacles. So we tried to get them to clean up after that all the time.
Okay.
tried to encourage them to do that.
Okay.
It's a matter of education. It's a matter of continuing to clean up. We did not go north of the Cherokee Park neighborhood.
Okay.
So I'm not real sure what happens north. It doesn't seem to be as littered,
Right.
that part.
I think
It's
I
where it's
remember you
busy.
telling me. So, and then my last one is, did we still ever get anything from Dr. Soul about having the small teams and
I have
engaging
not
the
heard back from
community?
him, but I'll reach out again.
Okay.
Particularly now that it's getting spring and they're back out on the water. So
Okay.
I'll check with him again about that.
Because he had a program that really engaged the neighbors.
Well, engages the young people.
Right, and young people.
And that would be,
Right. Right.
teaching them
and
young.
I think you can bring them into what y'all are doing and just have a bigger lesson learned from this. Because most of the homeowners there are seniors, but if we can engage the
Well,
grandchildren.
it's been difficult to really engage the homeowners there. We had a big cleanup right after I
Well, the
visited
neighborhood
with them.
association loves you.
And nobody, we didn't have any volunteers from there.
Really?
So I need your help.
back
Talking
to
to
the-
them.
come back to the neighborhood.
And Ms. Taylor, too,
Yeah.
to talk to them and talk to the community leaders and get them to participate with us and just keeping
Okay.
learning how to do it.
Well, if you come
But
back to
it's,
the neighborhood association, and please bring this. If you come back, when you come, we'll invite you back to the neighborhood association.
Okay.
Bring
I'll show
this.
them. It's such a difference. I mean, this big picture just shows,
Okay.
once it's clean and
It's nice.
Well, they really like you in the neighborhood association, so you'll be welcome there. And again, most of them are retired.
they were
so
wonderful. Yeah, it's an older, there are a lot of young people there, but the leaders are,
Right.
I understand.
Yeah.
It gets tired, you come home,
But we'll keep going at it. I appreciate you, Dr. Wilson, for getting this done. At least we have something that we can go back to them and show that we've been at least working on it. And I
Okay.
really do appreciate you.
Hold on, Ms. Curtis. We've got a
Thank-
couple more on the board.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, Chairman. Donna, we work together all the time, and I couldn't let you leave without saying thank you. You guys do so much, not just in my district, but in everyone's district. You guys were planting a garden at the old Blockbuster last week, and I got to go out there and help the kids. Some people may not remember Blockbuster video, but it's the Pathways now, and you guys came out and helped the Pathways school put a garden in there. And thank you for always helping us with supplies for our neighborhood cleanups that we do all the time. One question I have is on the illegal dumping that you're finding in the park. Have you figured out a way to combat that, or do you guys have access to some type of mobile cameras?
No, but it's interesting, the city has been contacting us the last couple of weeks about when they're putting in the crime cameras at some of the spots that we've talked about being over, where we have illegal dump sites. That's a tricky problem because pretty soon they get smart. We've learned it at our office where we're on our 8th catalytic converter having to be replaced. 3 on the same truck that has 2 catalytic converters on it. We've lit it. We've done everything except throw razor wire up under our truck at night to keep them away. So now we're having to install probably a $14,000 or $18,000 fence to keep them out. They just, we hadn't even, they've gotten our mobile market van, they've gotten our truck, our pickup truck, and they've gotten our big truck. It's just 3 times they've hit us. So now it's becoming a real expense because our insurance covers it up, but it's $2,000 every time we replace one. So anyway, they've come to us and said, can we put crime cameras, real-time cameras, because we've got cameras all around our office, but they're in hoodies and they park out of the camera. It's hard, and at dump sites, it's the same way. They're learning how to conceal themselves and conceal the truck, as they back up and dump it and leave. In the spots we know about that we've put cameras.
That's a shame, and unfortunately, it's going to be generational. Where one thing I think is the coolest feedback every time we do a neighborhood cleanup is the parents saying that the kids for the next week or two are calling out trash and litter out of their windows, saying, "Look, there's more trash. Let's go pick that up." So I think if we can keep this going educationally into the schools, that the next generation won't throw the stuff out. If they can get on to their own parents for saying don't throw this out, and we can change the mindset. That brings up a good point, how you bring these pictures and you have this awareness. have we partnered with the school board to do anything within Caddo Parish school system to talk about this with the children at the schools?
Up until we were allowed until COVID, when we couldn't go in the schools anymore, we do have an environmental program in the schools. From the teachers, we trained the teachers to do it, and up till about 2 years ago, we were going in, not every school every year, but to reach the first, second grade and teach, give them a lesson, talk to them about littering and getting them involved. We have good support from the school board. It's, we hope we convince them. We bring it down to their level. We've bought library books that talk about littering and, show the heroes as the people who keep it clean and don't throw it down in the first place. It's difficult getting to, because a lot of times they go home to a different situation than maybe those of us here today went home to, in my case, decades ago. But
And
some
Donna,
of it.
I know a lot of people want to give you some attaboy. So last question. I saw these kayaks out here. This is cool. How'd you mobilize a boat brigade to go out there and help you clean up Cherokee Park?
The cleanup, I didn't hear you.
I see all these kayaks.
Oh, yeah.
So who are these
those
people
were
and
the
how did you
paid people.
mobilize them?
I paid them. That's what we did. They had to, they rented those kayaks to go out and do it.
Gotcha,
Those
okay.
weren't volunteers. Those are people I paid, that we were able to pay. So, because it's, like I said, it's $4,000 at least, minimum, every time they go out.
I think we cleaned up Commissioner Atkins' area with a bunch of kayaks for free. We need to find that same crew. Thank you, President.
Commissioner Burrell.
Thank you, Mr. President. Hello, Donna.
Hi, Roy.
Been a while. Are you familiar with Cross Lake Canal? You ever heard of that?
The what canal?
Cross Lake Canal.
No.
I didn't either until I looked at my my property plat to try to find out what I always call it spillway, but it's there where the country club marina apartments are. They used to have a boat,
Marina?
a marina there with a lot of boats when those apartments were rented to I guess people of Upper Mains.
Mm-hmm.
But since then, the wharf was, not the wharf, but the marina was torn down supposedly, but they left all the trash and everything there. It goes right behind my house, and it stays filthy. We have buggies, people who live in the apartments there. Now they have a store there where they take the items and throw them, in the canal, just as they do here. But this is a bayou, and the bad thing is too is that it silts in because all of the drainage water from Crossway and Lakeway, which I stay on Lakeway, flows into it, creating silt there, building a berm. I had to get the trees dug out in the middle of the canal. It created such a berm there. We had fish, bass, and others that used to come out of the Cross Lake and come up in there and spawn. But about halfway through in the summer, it is so silted in you can almost walk across it, but it has all kinds of trash in it. I've complained about it, haven't gotten anywhere yet. We have trees that has fallen over. People pay, houses along there are very nice homes, and they can't use the canal anymore. It used to be you could go out to Cross Lake from Country Club Marina Apartments, but you can no longer do that because it's so silted in. It is my understanding, I'm trying to research the legislation where it is that those canals like that should be navigable, but this is not navigable because of all the silting. So if you would look at that, and I would like to work with you on that, because my neighbor bought a boat just for us to clean the trash out of there. And I told him that I would buy a net to hang across there to keep the trash from coming down past our home. But we paid good money for
That's
our
where a
home.
boom would help a lot.
I'm sorry?
A litter boom, a trash boom that
Yeah, I
they put
just
across.
call it a net. to catch it. I just don't want it down
Catchment.
behind my house.
I mentioned it in here.
So I would appreciate you following up with me on that, if you don't mind.
All right. Is that it, Commissioner Burrell?
I would like to say, Mr. Chavez, we have some of these pictures were all hired, but we do work very closely with the Ozark Society, and they do Old River Bayou over there off of Kings Highway. They keep that clean. That's been their project for 30 years. They do it 3 or 4 times a year. So we can't, it's just, we don't have anyone in this particular neighborhood in Cherokee Park that has adopted that. They've adopted that part of the river. So they've got all the kayaks and everything and go out. Of course, it's not anything like this is when we have to do it. There's not construction and all that. Construction materials, they make it 1 tire. So.
Commissioner Jackson, I got a 2-seater kayak. We can go out there together.
Well, you can come over by mine and go down.
Come on, I'll take you too.
Yeah, okay. No, come behind my house.
But
and bring your
it's
kayak.
it's,
But
you know.
Cross Lake Bayou
it
also
goes-
drains all of Queensboro. So it should be open, is what I'm saying. And Jeff, that's something you haven't, we have yet to, I have yet to get from you, because, you know, I asked you to help me put together a petition because all the neighbors want to sign that petition, even if we have to take it to court, to try to deal with this situation, because nobody's listening anymore. The parish is saying that it's not their responsibility. The city says it's not theirs. Say it's the Corps of Engineers, and the Corps of Engineers is saying it's not theirs. So it has to belong to somebody. It doesn't belong to us. Thank you, Donna.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Burrell. One more, Donna, Commissioner Young.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you so much, Ms. Curtis, for being here. It's a pleasure to see you and a pleasure to see your fine work. Nobody does as much to beautify Shreveport and Caddo as you do, and I want to salute you for it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, John.
That's it, Ms. Curtis. Thank you for coming down.
Thank you, Ms. Curtis.
Thank you, Donna.
Okay. Hey, Commissioners, the next topic we have, Caddo Parish Parks and Recreation Department is seeking to a national accreditation for all our parks. And I'd like for Mr. Wesley to come forward and Stacy to come forward to explain to you what the process is like to get a national certified park system in your parish.
Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Good afternoon.
It gives me great pleasure to announce that the Commission for Accreditation of Parks and Recreation Agency has given us authorization to move forward to go through the process of being nationally accredited. Nationally, we have over 10,000 parks and recreations via towns, villages, municipalities, as well as parks and departments on military installations across the country. We have over 10,000. There are only 191 parks and recreation departments that are nationally accredited, which is less than 2%, right at the 2% mark. We want to become one of the nationally accredited parks and recreation agencies in that system. We think this will be a game changer for Caddo Parish. We think this will be a game changer for the citizens of Caddo Parish as well as our department. We'll bring Stacy. Stacy is charged to be our national accreditation manager. She'll be taking us along the process. It's technically a 2-year process. We're technically on the clock now, which starts last month. We were technically on the clock. We're going to try to complete this in a year and a half or so. So I'll bring Stacy up to talk about the actual process and the benefits that this will have for our park system as well as Caddo Parish. Stacy?
All right. Well, thanks again for having us here. Just want to say that, I know everybody in our department is really excited about this accreditation process because we know a few months down the road that we will have improved almost every aspect of our department. So I'm going to give a quick overview about what we're undertaking, but also why we're doing it. Thanks. So like Patrick said, CAPRA is the organization that will be accrediting us. They provide the standards for best practices for parks and recreation agencies. And then this accreditation program has agencies themselves provide evidence that we meet all of those standards. There are 154 standards that we are up against here. They're divided into 10 sections or chapters, and each standard is set by like parks and rec professionals across the nation. As finding that practice to be the most fair and effective and measurable way of administering our facilities and programs and services. Almost every aspect of running the Parks and Rec Agency will be addressed in these standards, from best practices involving like overall planning to financial management, having risk and safety planning in place, to how we ensure that we have community involvement in finding our direction with those things, making sure our programming is inclusive and that we meet the needs of all the community members here in Caddo Parish. 36 of those standards are fundamental, and we are required to meet those, and they include things like a master plan, which we have in progress. We want to make sure, or those make sure that we have an evaluation process in place so that we're always evaluating our policies and procedures and programs. And then we have to meet remaining 90% of the rest of the standards, so another 106 of those. Once we've provided the evidence that we meet those standards, it'll be reviewed by others in the field of Parks and Recreation. They'll do a site visit, and then they'll decide if we are in fact operating with best standards in place and bestow the accreditation on us. And then once we're accredited, we'll know we are serving the community to the very best of our abilities. Everybody from our local citizens to our elected officials to our department staff and Parks and Rec agencies all over the country, that we're operating with best practices. So just a little bit more about why we're doing this and the benefits of the accreditation. There are many. From the citizens' viewpoint, they're going to know that they're being served by high-quality Parks and Recreation Department. It will recognize Caddo Parish and Shreveport as a great place to live. The CAPRA accreditation will also help us get more grants and donations that will directly benefit our citizens, reducing costs for programs. It will hold us accountable as a department, as an organization, and ensure that we continually grow and improve our services, and citizens will know exactly what to expect from us in the way of policies, programs, and then even how we communicate those with the public. And then lastly, the standards provide a framework so that our staff can operate in a way that's providing the best quality services to the public too. Check my notes. And then for us, first of all, it provides positive recognition, not just for the Parks and Recreation Department, but Parish of Caddo as a whole. We know that this will show that organization is committed to a high quality standard of living and that we take our citizens' health and happiness seriously. Having the accreditation too, it will leave no question to our elected officials, the public, and everybody else that we're operating with best practices. It'll be known that everything our department does, from setting policies and running programs, is done with thoughtful consideration, and that we are following in the footsteps of some of the best Parks and Rec agencies in the country. Again, it's going to increase our ability to receive grants. We'll be able to grow our services to meet the needs and hopefully exceed expectations of our community, just giving people the very best that we can give them in the way of Parks and Recreation offerings. The process is going to just improve our department overall. It's going to make us safer, more efficient, just better organized in general. The process will empower our employees, make us a better team. And then lastly, the process will empower the CAPRA accreditation will require us to continually review and update our policies. So that's part of this whole accreditation process, is that we'll ensure we're meeting industry standards as they evolve and change, and not just in 2023, but for years to come. So we'll be setting up the next generation of Parks and Recreation employees, to continue being successful and also evolve and change as our community needs evolve too. Okay, almost done. I just want to update y'all where we are on the process. We've already submitted the application, we've attended our initial training, and we have contracted an advisor to help us through this process too. We're just beginning to work through those standards and are planning to have our self-assessment complete, meaning that we have the evidence that we have and use all of the policies and procedures, have documentation ready for those in place by March 2023, so 1 year or 11 months from now, really. Let's see. And then once it's submitted, the CAPRA team will review, and if we've met those standards, they will conduct an official site visit. So they'll come to Caddo Parish, and they'll come to our offices and facilities and parks, and make sure that, you know, we are operating with best practices. They'll confer judgment on probably by fall of 2023 and let us know if we've made the cut. Okay, hold on. Yeah, last one. Yeah. Well, and Mr. Patrick already told y'all, but you know, once we are accredited, we will be joining an elite group of parks and recreation agencies across the country. We'd be the first in our region, so and third in Louisiana. New Orleans and Baton Rouge are accredited, so we'd be the third in Louisiana. And then we'll be joining other agencies like the City of Houston, the City of Little Rock, Dallas Parks and Recreation, so some really great organizations in our country. And that's it. I thank y'all for letting us come and share what we're doing with the Parks and Rec Department.
A couple of questions for you, Commissioner Young.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would you remind me your name, please, ma'am?
Oh, Stacy Gray.
Stacy.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here and for your presentation. It was great. I had a question about some of the other parks that you may have looked at in this program. Have you looked at other parks from other places in your analysis of best practices?
So other parks departments, you mean?
Other parks departments like Houston or Dallas or wherever that are highly thought of?
Yeah, yes, we are. So we actually have a mentor through the CAPRA process that's assigned to us, and they're in Florida. But yes, every document we're looking at, like for example, we started with our recreation programming plan, and as we're developing that, we are going to some of our favorite cities and counties where we know they're doing great programming, and you know, checking out their recreation programming plans, and then using our advisor to help us look at exactly the needs of our community and how we can meet, you know, with the same caliber programming, but tailored for Caddo Parish citizens.
Terrific. Relating to that, have you, in any of these other parks, have you encountered food-producing trees planted and growing for the public use in their public spaces in their parks?
Yeah, I think community gardens are really popular all over the country, and I know we've got the MLK garden, yeah, I mean, we'd be interested in doing that.
Yes, I think there's probably, and do you agree that there's probably space for, say, pear trees in some of our parks or fig trees in some of our parks?
Well, let Mr. Wesley answer that.
I mean, we have green space all in our park system, so I'm sure we can identify some areas where we can do that.
Terrific. One of the reasons I ask is because you mentioned so many times meeting community needs. When I moved back home to Caddo Parish 8 years ago, I was sort of stunned to learn that 40% of the children here live in chronic malnutrition. And so that seems like a very pressing community need to me. So I would urge you, when you consider becoming the best parks that you can, to consider meeting that need as aggressively as possible, and perhaps becoming the best parks in America.
Yes.
We have plenty of funding to pay for that kind of thing now through the American Rescue Plan, which this body generously allocated, and I hope that we can use it together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jackson.
Yes, I'd like to offer up Bessie D. Smith as a place to start with that. I guess you could call it a fruit and fig tree garden. So, you know, because it's not much there. But did I hear y'all say that the park system is going to undergo a master plan? Are you already doing a master plan?
Yes, that's
I
correct.
know, I'm already
Yes.
worried.
Yes, sir.
Yes, we are.
Yes, sir.
We're in process of doing a master and strategic plan, 15-year plan.
15 years.
Yes, 15. Ours expired last year, and we're a little late because of COVID, but we've got a firm SJB group out of Baton Rouge that'll be starting that process here very shortly. We've already had some preliminary meetings, and the master plan is in conjunction with the City of Shreveport SPAR.
Oh my!
So we'll be
really?
doing both park systems together.
Isn't that something?
Yes.
Mr. Clark,
Synergy, sir. Synergy.
another joint master plan. Thank you.
Most definitely we'll be getting with Mr. Clark.
And you
We
know
have to
about that,
incorporate
Dr.
some of
Wilson?
his.
Oh, you,
some
and
of
you
his plans.
approve?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I just curious.
Synergy.
I don't disagree. Thank y'all, thank y'all.
Commissioner Hopkins.
Yeah, I'm always worried when we start throwing that word around. But I would say, you know, it's nice to look in Florida and everything, but we've got some good parish parks systems in Calcasieu and East Baton Rouge. So make sure and look regional and don't get too far away from home, because we don't do things exactly like they do it in Florida. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no one else on the board, I'd like to thank you all for the presentation and thank you for your pursuit of excellence. I think it's always good to be striving for improvement and measuring yourself against improvement. I would just a word of caution: be careful about the experts, the consulting experts from anyone with a briefcase from far away. They don't always know best. I used to be one, and I know I didn't always know best. So use your own judgment. Do what you think is best for the people of Caddo Parish, and we appreciate y'all's hard work.
Okay,
Thank
you. I would like to also thank Dr. Wilson and Erica, who gives us the professional freedom to do these type of projects. These are daunting projects, and it's going to be some hard work. Some midnight oil is going to be burned, but we're going to get there. And I would like to thank everybody. We're not going to think that we're good after this accreditation is over. We're going to know that we're good because we're going to be operating on a national best practice standards 12 months out of the year. And we're going to make sure that it will benefit the parish of Caddo and its citizens. So thank you all so
We look
much.
forward to watching the process. Thank you all.
Appreciate you.
Yes, Commissioners.
Oh, I'm sorry. Commissioner Johnson, did you have a question here?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. What will the accreditation do to our parks as opposed to not being accredited?
The benefits is that we'll be operating on the national practices, best practices that are out there that are established by CAPRA, which is the National Accreditation Agency. It's no different than in college, the academic program being accredited or not accredited. If it's not accredited, you can't transfer. You're not operating on best standards, and you possibly can't transfer those credits to another. We'll be operating on national best practices. Only a small percentage of parks and recreation agencies in the country are operating, less than 2%. So we want to be a part of that, on the other side that are operating, because this accreditation, you have to renew your accreditation every 5 years, and there'll be annual reporting that you have to submit. So there'll be checks and balances, not only after you get your accreditation, but in order to maintain your certification, you have to submit annual reports and renew your certification every 5 years.
So that means that the grass will be cut, the bathrooms will be in good order, the playground equipment will be good. In Richard Fleming Park, that canal that runs through there will be cleaned out so people can use it, stuff like that.
Yeah, we're striving for that right now. I mean, that's what we're trying, and you'll probably see a lot of improvement that's in our park system right now, park improvements that are going on as far as our playground amenities and our park amenities. A lot of our parks are closed right now because we're upgrading those. So we're trying to get there just doing our regular operations, but the actual accreditation process is bigger than just your day-to-day operations. It's about how effective you are, how you're evaluating, and how you're implementing your programs and services, things of that nature.
Okay, thank you.
And we can send you all some information of the link to the CAPRA accreditation process. We can send you that link, and if you have any questions for us, feel free to do so.
If you please ask Mr. Everson to do that for us, we'd appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no one else on the
Yeah,
board?
Commissioners, I still have a few more things to cover.
Yes, sir.
But I just want to say, too, that our Parks Department has received several NACO Achievement Awards, and we're also submitting 2 for this year as well. And Ms. Stacy's personally gotten NACO Achievement Award for programs that she created right here in Caddo Parish. So we're just trying to raise the bar and make sure we're competing with the best out there in the Parks Department. Also, Commissioners, a few things. We have a free rabies and microchip clinic that's going to be conducted on April the 9th, 10 a.m. in the morning to 2 o'clock at Southern Hills Community Center at 1002 West Bert Coons Street in Shreveport. This is a free first come, first serve microchip program and rabies clinic for all animals in the parish. Also, you should have gotten from me, I sent you all some information on the Confederate monument status, so I don't need to cover that in depth, but that's moving forward. We'll have a conference here pretty soon with the contractor to talk about timelines. Also, the U.S. Treasury housing report. Ms. Haley, would you bring us up to speed on where we are with that?
Yes, sir. Currently, we have distributed over $37 million to over 14,000 families. Wow. There is an ordinance today. We received an additional reallocation of $1.2 million from the Treasury. Once that additional funding is spent, and what we have remaining, which is around $1 million, we will have surpassed $40 million of rental assistance in the parish.
Wow. And over how many families did you say?
Over 14,000.
Thank you.
Families or individuals?
Families.
Quite impressive numbers. Is that complete your report, Ms. Hill?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Commissioners, we have 24 kids in the Juvenile Detention Center. We have 11 at CCC. Of the 24 at the detention center, we have 3 OJJ waiting for their custody. And we have 9 17-year-olds currently being held. And those numbers will vary every day. So we realize this is the first time in a while we have reached 24, so we're working to get those numbers down. Also, you should have gotten information on the summer jobs for our young people. That will start here pretty soon. April the 1st to the 15th, we'll be taking the applications for the summer employment program. Also, the selected candidates will be selected between April 15th and May 6th. And the program runs from May 31st to August the 5th. So please direct your young people to go online to apply. And they can also put recommended by commissioners, so-and-so, if they want to fill in that spot as being recommended by a commissioner. Also, we have no COVIDs to report. We are pleased that it's 0. Maybe these glasses will be coming down pretty soon, Commissioner Lazarus. We can keep going towards 0, and nothing will please us more than have these glasses removed. Also, County Government Month is the month of April. County government is where the rubber meet the road and how things are done in the parish. So we have banners around this building and around the courthouse. And I left at your station a badge that says County Government Month. And we'll be talking to everybody and kind of informing the community what actually takes place in parish government, which we are proud of. Okay, I believe I've covered everything I need to. Unless I missed something, I'll be glad to entertain.
A couple of questions for you, Commissioner, or Dr. Wilson.
Yes, sir. I'm glad
Commissioner
to, sir.
Jackson?
Dr. Wilson, I'll start with the rabies deal.
Yes, sir.
Is that the only one we're going to do, or y'all going to do another one closer toward the northern part of the parish city? It's about a 20-minute drive from my house, 25-minute drive from my house to Southern Hills.
Yes, sir.
And so is there one that's going to be more located toward the northern part of the parish at a later date with the same
yes, sir. We try to have several throughout the year.
Okay. Because I think I remember y'all having one at David Raines.
Yes, sir. We try to spread them around. Well,
Okay.
we can get the venue.
Okay.
We try to provide this.
Okay.
And we have resources to try to do it.
Okay.
Mhm.
But y'all do plan to do it?
Yes, sir. We
Okay.
do.
And the summer interns, is the only option for them to apply?
Yes, sir.
I'm always about,
yes.
ensuring equity.
Yes, sir. We prefer to do it that way. And,
Well,
and the younger people, we find out, prefer to do it that way.
Okay.
Because they can do it with their phones.
Okay.
And
I just
also
want to make sure that
Goodwill.
those what we realize, and I agree with you about younger people
Mhm.
prefer it that way, but we also realized during COVID is that there's a huge disparity in access to the World Wide Web. And so
Yes, sir.
just want to make sure that some of those who may not have that access capability can still
Yes,
get
sir.
through.
If they can contact us, we'll
Okay.
make sure they get
Okay.
an application filled out. I will
Okay.
give them one.
the guidance counselor, and I'm saying that because I think the guidance counselor at Booker T. Washington had to literally sit, which I don't mind, had to sit through and help some of the students from Booker T. Washington through last year.
Okay.
Or either year before, I can't remember. But I know it was something about not having access to internet, and then
Okay.
some of them didn't have somebody who could help them fill it out too.
Yes,
So-
sir. If they can just call us, we'll walk them through the process and make sure they get access to
Okay.
the entry of the data.
And we say us, you mean Cheryl?
HR.
Okay, all
HR.
right, thank you. But can we make sure that they have a spot? Will we make sure that there's some,
Well, yes.
that's equitable spread around?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then my last question, I know last year we didn't get to do it, but I thought of it, Clay. Are we reserving spots for those folks in juvenile this year? Because that was a big priority. Folks that juvenile would identify as nonviolent folks, and trying to get them more engaged in a more positive way through the summer work program, because I do want to make sure that part of summer work is, one, introducing folks to work, but it's also an opportunity to give folks an opportunity to deter from a life of crime, a life of what they call fast money, street money. So I do think I thought we had discussed maybe holding 10 or 12 of those spots open for juvenile. And I had a commitment, if we roll the tape back, I had a commitment that we couldn't do it last year, but we would shoot for it this year.
Yeah, we look at that, sir. Well, we'll take a look at that, Commissioner Jackson. We encourage every young person that want an opportunity to go online and put in for it. And if there's some particular set aside that we had talked about in the past,
Right.
we'll revisit that and see what the requirements are. But we want to make it fair to everybody
Right.
who wants that opportunity.
Right. But I definitely want to see if there's some way that we can engage, because I know if you give young people a job, given that opportunity to earn money,
Right,
because
I
some of
agree.
this stuff may just be survival mode.
I agree, sir.
And if we can work with Director Walker and his team to identify those students who, may be kind of right there in between needing help, needing support, and that kind of stuff that they see coming through juvenile, it may be a good opportunity to try to get them involved. So, but I know we discussed it last year.
Yes, and we're also working with Goodwill as well.
Okay.
Goodwill will have a component in this
Okay.
as well.
Okay, thank you. Well,
Yes,
Clay,
sir.
y'all gonna start working on that list? All right, thank you, Mr. President.
Commissioner Young.
Thank you, Mr. President. Dr. Wilson, I had some questions about juvenile services.
Yes, sir.
The detention center is completely full now. Is that correct?
Okay. That varies every day because we work closely with the judges to make sure the numbers and the capacity is built into the consideration.
Director Walker, Director Walker, the juvenile detention center is completely full today?
It is, yes, sir. We're 24 right now.
Have you had to let anybody go who you wouldn't otherwise have let go? Were there 25 at some point and you let one go, or?
So that question would really need to be asked of the judges. They're the ones letting them go. And so that would, in terms of if they wanted
Did you have to make
or not.
space for instance, the case relating to Byrd High School last week?
What we do on a regular basis is come up with a recommendation list of 2 or 3 that if a new one came in right now that they wanted to hold, these are the 3 we would recommend to take a look at letting out, and they use that list. We communicate like that.
I see.
I'm not aware of any that we've let out that we did not want to let out. It's really a better question for the judges, but I'm not aware of that in my interaction with them.
I understand. I had another question about the incident relating to the threats at Byrd High School last week. Were any of the people, the young people who were arrested, related to those threats already under probation?
Well, so technically, I don't think I can tell you that. Actually, legally, their probation status would be confidential. What I can tell you is we do have a procedure that we've worked out with the school system and with the judges. Any threat that comes in, we're doing an assessment of their house, access to guns, doing a sweep essentially to see, a child making a bomb threat does not have bomb-making materials in their house. They're generally going through a process where they're punished. We're checking out that it's safe for them when they do go home, and ultimately as they're going home, we then track them. We have supervision over them with probation.
So this is sort of like the type of supervision that that we were discussing in a Juvenile Services meeting a few weeks ago.
Yes.
I understand. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's all, Dr. Wilson. Thank you, Mr. President.
Commissioner Vice President Burrell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Woody and Erica, on the crime lab situation request, did we come up with a final figure on that so that we can take it hopefully to the ARP committee and see what can be done? I got a call on it again today.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Burrell. The request was for, I believe, was $96,000. And I believe I sent you an email back with my recommendation of, I sent you a recommendation back, so you may want to take a look at what I recommended first. And also, I also suggest that you perhaps, it'd be more apropos that we would take it to the ARP committee because of the lost revenue provision.
Right.
And I also recommended that as well.
Right.
So I think if you kind of take a look at my email, then I suggested, because the question I raised when the gentleman Smith was here was the fact that the city of Shreveport gave $400,000, and they were trying to come up with $500,000. Does that count towards some of Caddo Parish's part, being that we're a parish and they're part of the city of Shreveport's part of the parish of Caddo? I think you all would like to do something, and perhaps not the whole amount, but I did recommend an amount since she specifically asked, and I suggested the ARP process.
Well, I understood it to be more a million than it was 500,000, unless something has changed.
Pardon me, I didn't hear what you say, sir. Would you repeat that again?
I understood that the deficit was around $1 million, not 500,000, unless something has changed.
Yes, sir, but there are 29 parishes, and I think they were looking for equal sacrifice and giving among the 25 parishes. And certainly, we would not bore the expense of all those other parishes as well. So I think by the mere fact that we have given through the city $400,000 and the parish commission may give something, I think that's just one parish out of the 29 that should be giving something to help towards that endeavor.
But if the deficit is $1 million and the city gives 400,000 and we wind up giving, say, 94 or what have you, then you got another $500,000 to spread among the 29, correct? Or am I not understanding that correct?
No, I thought the deficit was $500,000, but I can go back and look at the email again. But certainly, I think, they're asking us to do something. I think everybody should do something.
I agree with that. But that's what I understood. But anyway, I had talked with the chairman of ARP to try to set up a meeting. I don't know when you want to do it, but I think we need to just go ahead and address it one way or the other.
Yes, sir.
Okay, the second thing is the Animal Services report on coyotes. I'm still getting reports on coyotes. Is Animal Services here?
What about Animal Services, sir?
About the coyotes.
Oh, the coyotes?
This is their breeding season now, is my understanding, and then I'm
Yes, sir.
still getting calls on that.
Yes,
Can you
sir.
kind of give us an update on that?
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Commissioner Burrell, I talked to Mr. Quentin Light. I think I forwarded you the email. So he does have a camera up to kind of he hadn't caught any coyotes on the cam, the wildlife cam.
So we don't have any residents that talking about coyotes at this point?
None that he's asking in that particular area. I mean, he's talking to neighbors that's adjacent to the actual country club, and he kind of updates me basically whenever he goes out. So he have no footage on the camera system as of now.
All right, well, I'll report that back when I get another call.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you,
No
Mr.
problem.
Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Burrell. Seeing nobody else on the board, let's move on. Thank you, Dr. Wilson.
You're welcome, sir.
That brings us to 7.2, which is an announcement of a public meeting. And this is the notice that's hereby given that at its meeting to be held on Thursday, May 5th, 2022 at 3:30 p.m. at its regular meeting place, the Government Plaza Chambers at 505 Travis Street in Shreveport, Louisiana, the Caddo Parish Commission plans to consider adopting a resolution ordering and calling an election to be held in Caddo Parish to authorize the renewal of ad valorem taxes therein and to authorize the issuance of general obligations. And that is something that we will also publish, and that's in order to make sure that we are properly noticing the public that y'all will be discussing those items. So that brings us to commission remarks, communiques, and other items related to work session.
All right, let's get on the board. Anyone have any communiques? Commissioner Jackson.
Yeah, I forgot to ask an administration report. The ERAP funds, is that a reallocation from ERAP 1, or is that a reallocation from ERAP 2?
One.
ERAP 1, okay, that's it.
Is that it, Commissioner Jackson?
Yes.
Anybody else? All right, seeing no one, that brings us to President's Report. I can wait till Thursday, Mr. Clerk. Let's carry on.
All right, we'll move on to old business, where the first item is to authorize the introduction of ordinance number 6213 of 2022. This was postponed from your
Move to
work
approve,
session.
or move to advance.
We have a motion from Commissioner Jackson and a second from Commissioner Young to advance. Would you like to comment, Commissioner Jackson?
This is just reappropriate some money that was unused from the Juneteenth deal from last year, so.
All right, seeing no one on the board, let's vote on the motion to advance.
All right, and that motion carries with 9 in support, none in opposition, and 3 absent. And that brings us now to new business, where the first item today is 9.1, authorizing introduction of ordinance number 6220 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the E. Edward Jones Housing Trust Fund for the year 2022 to appropriate funds received from the U.S. Treasury in the amount of $1,260,238 for the Emergency Rental Assistance Program and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Move to advance.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Jackson to advance, a second by Commissioner Burrell. Would you like to comment, Commissioner
Yeah,
Jackson?
I would just say we continue to see some need. I don't know that there ever not be a need if you're telling people you're paying their rent, but I don't know if the demands for, I guess, to show the demand, do we have new? Do y'all know how many new that y'all are getting, or are y'all able to tell?
We closed the application portal
Gotcha.
January 19th.
Gotcha.
We're still helping families that haven't received help or that needed continual help that we already had.
Gotcha. So you can't get new right now.
Right.
But do you all still see sort of a need for that? Those that are in the queue, re-asking, or
The ones that are already in the
or do they
queue.
phase out? Do they ever phase out?
Right, you can't get anything after 15 months. And we're trying to help right now as
Okay.
many of the new applicants that have not received any help, but the need has dwindled quite significantly.
Well, I'd love to maybe see at some point, maybe use some of the dollars to put together sort of a report so we can report out. But I think it's going great and appreciate the work that's being put into it. So, and I think there's a reallocation of ERAP 2 that should be coming.
It's coming.
That's been announced of ERAP $2. So
Okay.
we'll see how that works.
Okay.
Thanks, Mr. President.
Okay.
You're welcome, Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Johnson.
Yes, I'd like to englobo and advance ordinance 6220 of 2022, 6221 of 2022, 6222, 6223, 6224, 6225, all the special resolutions, the appointment to the sewer district board, the visitors, and the visitors. Is it?
Second.
Okay. I'm afraid you lost me on all those, but Commissioner Johnson would like to englobo in advance. Mr. Clerk, could you read off what he's proposed there?
Yeah, essentially it's the remaining items under new business.
Okay.
I don't believe I heard any that he omitted.
Is that correct, Commissioner Johnson?
That's correct.
All right, we'd like to, it's been moved, a motion has been made to englobo and advance all the items under new business. Would you like to care to comment, Commissioner Johnson?
No.
Okay.
I figure we'll talk about them again on Thursday, so.
Okay.
No sense
All
talking about
right,
it.
seeing no one on the board, let's vote.
And that motion carries with 10 in support, none in opposition, and 2 absent. And that brings us to communiques and committee reports.
Commissioner Young?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to read a statement from the perspective of a constituent of mine, whose name appears on my cap. I'm Jake Snyder. I live in Highland and I'm a small-scale contractor and, I guess you'd say, a humble carpenter. It's a noble vocation if you believe in the gospel. I love Shreveport and Highland especially because of its historic homes. They're the oldest houses we have left in this city. A lot of them are more than 100 years old, and a whole lot of them need people like me to fix them up so they can be lived in again and last another 100 years. We can't build houses like these anymore. The materials don't exist now. About a year ago, I bought a house in Highland that's on a weird combination of lots. It's got a house, but it's also got a small parking lot that was zoned commercial in 1960, 14 years before the MPC was created. This lot was perfect for me because, like a lot of small contractors, I need a place to park my equipment when I'm not on a job site. My mailman parks there too. Highland is full of weird parcels and lots and buildings, and that's part of what makes it a good place for all different kinds of people. It's the only really diverse neighborhood in Shreveport or Bossier. I know all my neighbors and I like them. We all get along. I'm a disabled veteran and I have a degree in construction engineering, but that's about as fancy as I get. I'm not rich and I don't have any political power and influence like y'all do. Even though I could have a fancier job in a big city because of my degree, I choose to work every day to make Highland a little more livable. And Highland really needs it. I hear military-style weapons firing gunshots every night in my neighborhood as soon as the sun starts going down. The streets have got more holes than Swiss cheese. Every gorgeous historic district in America, like New Orleans, Charleston, Savannah, Greenwich Village, has gone through a phase of decay that looks like Highland does now. Anyways, even though the neighborhood really needs people like me to help fix it up, the MPC is picking on me. At least it feels like picking. It feels like bullying, to tell the truth. It makes me wonder who I ticked off in City Hall to get this kind of, well, it feels like harassment. I got a letter saying I can't park in my own parking lot, like the UPS truck does, because they got a, quote, anonymous phone call complaint, end quote, about my commercial zoned parking lot being used for parking. They say their computer system says it's actually zoned a residential front yard. Of course, it's not, and the MPC zoning administrator actually sent me a copy of the tax assessor's description of my lot, saying it's got a commercial sublot, just like my deed said when I bought it. But the zoning administrator says that's my problem, and it's my responsibility to go and talk to the tax assessor to figure out who's right and who's wrong about zoning. So I have a question for y'all. What does a zoning administrator do? Is he supposed to administrate zoning himself, or does he get paid to tell the little guy like me to run around town researching zoning details like this one? By the way, how much does he get paid to give me the runaround like this? Does he get any customer service training? I keep pretty busy trying to earn a living, and nobody is offering to pay me to do zoning research, let alone a company car to drive around while I do it. I heard you guys on this commission are paying the MPC $350,000 a year to do this kind of work. I did the math. That's $1,350 per business day. It's enough to put new roofs on about 45 houses in Highland if you get a good price. We have a lot of houses that need roofs to survive. And I'm glad y'all are talking today about fixing roofs around town, because a house without a roof isn't really a shelter. My last question for y'all is, isn't there anything else in our city that you can think of to spend $350,000 on that's actually good, instead of cushy MPC jobs for guys like the zoning administrator who tell me to go and do their work for them? Thanks. That's all, Mr. President.
All right, Commissioner Jackson. Yep. Anyone else? Seeing no one else, can we have a motion to adjourn?
Move.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Epperson.